Welcome to Tree Talking Time, where we talk all things tree dogs. From the smallest fights to the largest hounds, treating squirrels to bears and everything in between. And from time to time, we might even run a little fast game. And we're back with Uncle Wayne.
Uncle Wayne.
We mentioned in the other one, we were talking about you being a bear hunter, about you having Leopard Curs, which are, by most people that would recognize them, are now registered as Leopard Hounds, but you still have dogs that are Association, Leopard Cur Association.
True.
So your dogs are still technically Leopard Curs.
They are, and they will be as long as I live.
Mm-hmm. Now, what got you into the leopards?
Well, like I said earlier, I think my older brother, Lewis Carson Hensley, who bear hunted and done a lot of coon hunting, owned one of the three original Leopard Curs that Mr. Richard McDuffie ever registered in that association.
So that would be a littermate to Nimrod, who was kind of like
the dog's name was Flicker, which I named this puppy actually after my brother passed away. I named this young dog Flicker.
Yep.
He also, my daddy owned a couple of them, and Pete Webb, my brother-in-law, Pete, if he was living, he'd tell you this. Now, I think he probably preferred the Walker dog a little more than he did the Leopard. He himself did, but I tell you something, he will tell you, he had two Walker dogs that could catch bear, could fly, couldn't get them treed.
Okay.
He was running bear back out then, years ago in his 70s. He was running bear every time to the woods. And he got two of those leopards.
Yep.
And he started treeing bear like he treed coons.
Just wouldn't put enough pressure on them.
They had no grit. They could run and tree, but they had no grit. They'd run bear all over this mountain and never tree one. Well, they tree occasional bear, an easy bear. But when he started using those, I'll tell you something he done. There was a bear up on Onion Mountain after he bought those leopards. He had the two walkers, two leopards. He went in there on Sunday before the season opened on Monday. And he come up at the home place and he told my daddy, because he called him Charlie. Charlie Hensley was his name. He told him, he said, Charlie said, I found where it's a bear over on the other side of Onion, and it's right up in there next to where, up over Street Creek. He said, I found where he's feeding. He said he's been feeding there every night. He said, I will have that bear back at the truck by lunchtime. He went in out there and 4 dogs that morning, and he was back at 11:30 with that bear and the 4 dogs.
Like we talked about, yes, in the other podcast, about there just weren't that many bears. So that's that's quite the statement back then.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, it is today.
Yeah. But Daddy done a lot of scouting. Pete did. My brother-in-law Pete Ware did. They knew where the bear was at. What few bear there were, they knew where to find them. But I'll tell you something about my daddy. He beat all I've ever seen pretty much. I've seen him sit around up there. My mother used to cook, and every bear hunter that went with us that day ate breakfast there. Pete, my brother Carson, anybody that was invited to go. If you would have been there at the time, you would have ate. If you didn't, she'd get mad. She'd cook homemade biscuits, have bacon off of a hog, and she'd cook for all of us, and we'd eat. And Daddy would sit around by that old fire, and I remember him. I can picture him right now. He used to sit there, and he sat in a little old chair, and I got that chair right in here right now. Okay. And he used to sit in beside that old wood stove, open the front up and spit tobacco juice in the front of the stove, close back, damn smoke, roll out, because didn't even open the draft on the thing, just roll out in the house. That didn't make no difference, not the way we lived. But he'd sit around, and somebody finally asked him, said, Charlie, where are we going today? I mean, it'd be 8 o'clock. Everybody else gone to the woods. And he'd say, well, I'm thinking, said, nobody's been at this spot for a right good while, said, let's go there. And about every time, if it was a bear on that mountain, he'd find it. He'd take the dogs and find it. He had that knack to find bear.
Yeah. Now back to your leopards, and what took you so long? If you said Pete, your dad, your brother, they all had leopards in the 60s and 70s. What took you to the 90s to get your dogs?
Well, it took me to the 90s. For one thing, I lived in North Carolina, and I did some bear hunting, but I didn't own dogs at the time.
Okay.
I in the late 70s, through the 70s pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
I bear hunted, but I worked for a company down there, and I didn't live here in Bedford for about 7 years.
Oh, okay.
And then when I moved back here, I got some dogs, and but I was just the dogs I bought. Most of were already running dogs.
Mm-hmm.
To get back into it, and then Carson and Pete Ware both told me they gave me Fielding Lewis's name that lives here in Virginia.
Okay.
But he, if I remember correctly, he had died when I called his wife. No, Goodman was a man I called. He had passed away. His wife told me, unfortunately, he had passed away. And he didn't, he wasn't around anymore. So I went to Rex Bowers.
Yep.
They told me, my brother Carson told me, said, call Rex Bowers.
And for anybody that's familiar with the leopards, Rex bred Dutchman Creek.
And he lived in Mocksville, North Carolina. He still does.
Mm-hmm.
And I went down to see him. And the first dog I bought in, I think it was 89 or 90, was a little mate to the zip code, he called him, Zipper Dog.
Mm-hmm.
I bought a dog named Frazier. I called him and I told him, and I'd never met him.
Okay.
And I told him who it was, and he said, oh, yeah, I've hunted with your brother and all, coon hunted with him and all. Mm-hmm. And he said, I said, you got anything, a puppy, that I can start on bear? He said, I don't. But he said, my neighbor over here, man lived there, he said, bought a puppy, this little mate to his Zipper Dog, and he had the Zipper Dog there. Mm-hmm. And he took me hunting with the Zipper Dog, and he showed me 2 coons that night, and he was 9 months old.
Nice.
And I mean, he put them up quick along the edge of a cornfield. Mm-hmm. So he said the man bought the dog mainly for his kids. Dog done outgrew the kids. Yep. Man said, and I forget what I give for that dog. This was in '89, and anyhow, the man said he'd sell it to me, so he brought it on over. He paid him, and I paid Rex.
Okay.
I brought that dog back here, and I could tell he was an awful smart dog. Mm-hmm. I took him down on a branch behind the house here one day, just getting him used to him. No, he getting used to me, and he was trotting down the branch. The road goes along the edge of the branch. I'm walking the road, and he's going down the branch. Mm-hmm. And a woodpecker flew up. It flew up on a branch up on the top of the bank on the opposite side of the where I was sitting. I watched that dog. He pulled up that bank, and when he got right to that little old bush that woodpecker was sitting in, the woodpecker flew straight back up the branch behind me. That Frazier dog took off. I'd never seen him raise his head. He was looking straight ahead. Mm-hmm. That woodpecker went probably 75 to 100 yards, and I seen him light in the top of a poplar tree.
Yep.
He stretched out up through there, and when he got that poplar tree, he throwed the brakes on and looked right up at that daggone woodpecker, and I said, yeah, this'll make me a dog. That's a smart dog. And he did make me a dog. He was one hell of a good dog. And then I got another one or 2 from him. I got another dog, and a bear killed him up there in the woods when he was young.
Okay.
Third one I called Rex, and I said, Rex, that last dog I got from you, Frazier's still living, but I said, a bear killed him. I said, you got anything down there that's running and treeing? He said, Wayne, the only thing I've got is Tigger. And he said, Tigger, that was my first Tigger dog because I had 2. He said, you saw him when you was down here. Said, that's his wife, said, Karen brings him in the house and feeds him. And said, never had a coon shot to him, but said he'll run a coon. Says he goes with me down to those coon feeders, and said he runs. Said, but he's not treeing. And I think he was over a year old. He says he's not treeing, but he said, I've never shot nothing to him, anything. Mm-hmm. He said, you want to take him and try him, you welcome take him. I said, okay. So we went up there the mountain, and back there then it was legal to put food out for bear during chase season.
Okay.
So it was at one time to the bear hunters. They are a victim of their own stupidity. They messed that up by leaving trash and stuff out. Cost us all the opportunity. Anyhow, Ed Ware and I went up there, and the food, we knew the food had been hit. And the bear had come in there, so we get up there, and you had to walk a little ways up to where the food was at off the road. So I got Tigger out, snapped him to a bush. I'm getting my other dog out. Ed's getting his out, and I turn around. Tigger got unsnapped, was gone. The leash was there, but Tigger wasn't. I said, Ed, you see where Tigger went? He said, no. All of a sudden, I heard him open up there where the food was at. He never bear hunted before, never run a bear. I said, Ed looked at me and said, you reckon he's on that bear track? I said, I don't know, but I said, cut him loose. If it ain't, we're going to have one hell of a deer chase. Treed that bear. Mother bear and cub was up there, and they treed her, and he was at the tree doing exactly what Rex Bauer said he'd do, walking around, wasn't looking up, just smelling at the other dog, just walking, didn't leave the tree, stayed there. Within 2 weeks' time, he started treeing. We started treeing bear with him and the other dogs, and he took to treeing. And him and the Jazz dog that I had died last year, probably the best two leopards I ever owned, best two dogs I ever owned, period, in any breed, but especially in the leopards and overall, anything I ever hunted. But he lived to be about 11 years old. I've seen that dog, and I can show you pictures, I think, right here, some pictures I've got of him. He was standing at a tree. A bear come out of a tree, and it bit him through the side, the neck, and head. And he was standing in the next tree treeing, and the blood dripping out of him, never fazed him. That dog had no fear.
Jeez.
And I've seen that Frazier dog bit up, but I'm going to tell you a story about Frazier when he got killed. He's 10 and a half years old. We was up at chase season one day, and dogs, mine and Billy, one of Billy Mitchell's walker dogs, Frazier and Billy's walker dog went around the side of the ridge and they struck, and Billy Coon hunts his dogs a lot. And they pulled up treed. You could hear them treed. Billy said he got a coon treed, Wayne. He said, I'll go get him. I said, all right. He goes around down there, he's hollering, turn him loose, it's a bear. They had a bear treat, a nice bear. And somewhere or another here, I got a video of that bear, but the rest of the dogs, I turned them loose, his and mine, they went to the tree. And another fellow was with us, and we got to that tree, and we didn't attempt to tie the dogs back. It's chase season. We just figured we'd film this thing some, and then we'll get them and leave. Well, he sat up there just calm, and the bear was probably 250, 300. He decided he's leaving. He backs down, and my hammer dog that I had at the time, which was out of Frazier, he come, his young dog, and that bear backed down. He didn't jump off. He just backed right down in the dogs, and that hammer dog latched him right in the butt. And that bear spun around to get him, and Frazier was coming up, and he caught him right in the jugular vein.
Ooh.
And he flipped him over, and the bear took off around the ridge. And that Frazier dog, every time his blood pumped out, bit him right in the jugular vein. Ooh. And I knew he was going to die. And the other fellow was with Billy, said, take him to the vet, Wayne. I said, vet won't help this dog. God's the only thing help this dog. Ain't no help for this dog. He come around that tree, and it's the saddest thing I've ever seen when I've ever been hunting that ever happened to me. He come up, walked right up, crawled up on my lap, and I held his head over here on the right side of me until he bled every drop of blood out of his body. And it run down the hill. And I just rubbed him on the head, and I said, this is it, buddy.
I know. Last couple of days we've been talking in the truck as we've been hunting, and you've lost quite a few dogs, unfortunately. Just freak accidents like that.
Accident, yeah.
Like, it's not like your dogs are just stupid gritty, getting killed.
No, I lost one, a good dog out of that Jazz dog. It's a little mate to this Amos dog that I'm going to breed Ivor to. It's a little mate. Lost it 2 years ago up here on the mountain. Amos is, I think, 5 now, and he was 3. Dogs had a bear bait. They took off, and he didn't leave. And I figured the bear killed him.
Mm-hmm.
And Jesse Trost was in the woods there, and I was coming around the road trying to get to him because they had him baited up, and we was trying to get him off because just chase season.
Yeah.
And I said, Jesse, check that rock dog. I said, there's something wrong. He didn't leave there, and that's not like him.
Mm-hmm.
He goes there, and he calls back on the radio and said, Wayne, we got a problem. And I said, how bad's he tore up? He said, he ain't tore up. He's stone dead. I said, what do you mean? I said, is he tore up? He said, I don't find a scratch on him. And he waited a few minutes, and he said, I found out. He said a snake had bit him right. It was hot that day, and it bit him right against his heart, under the right front shoulder. I think he died instantly. I think it hit the blood vein right there, and it just killed him instantly.
Yeah.
Stuff like that happened. And then I had that one idiot in West Virginia that shot one of my dogs.
Yeah.
Drunk.
Like I said, you had some crazy
stuff.
Unfortunately. But through it all, you have somehow managed to perpetuate a line of dogs for 31 years with very few outcrosses.
The only one that I really ever made was the one with Brandon Thompson's dog. That new dog.
Yep.
It's the only one. Now, I'm going to tell you something. I'll tell anybody this. I lost some grit, but I gained some tree power. That doesn't mean my dogs didn't tree, but his was coon dogs and hunting for coon, and I got more tree power, but I lost some grit in the process. Mm-hmm. I seen that immediately as soon as I started hunting the puppies out of that cross.
Okay.
I bred a dog too, and the scout dog that J.D. Myers owned, J.D. is his name, right?
L.D.
L.D. Myers. And that was one out of that litter.
Yeah.
Puppies. And I kept two. Bear killed one of them, and the other, the man shot. The drunk man shot in West Virginia.
But like you said, you did actually add that into your line, so that means...
Yes, that's in there. It's not a lot of it in there, just him at that one shot, but you can see the difference in the treeing. Mm-hmm. But you lost some grit. I could see the difference in the grit, too.
Yeah. Now, what's your philosophy on breeding? Like I said, you've perpetuated this for a long time with very few outcrosses. So obviously, you're family breeding of some sort. So, what's your take on breeding?
I don't breed mother to daddy stuff, crap like that, or mother to son, or daughter to daddy. I don't believe in. I don't believe in breeding them that close.
Okay.
I breed them like cousins or uncles or something like that. But no. I've not bred them that close. I think you get stupid dogs when you do. My personal opinion.
Yeah.
And everybody's got an opinion.
Yep. Well, the proof, at least for you, I mean, it's there.
That it works.
It's been working for you.
It works for me.
So.
But I've sold a lot of puppies. I even sold one to a man in Hawaii.
I was just going through your little green photo albums out there, and I saw that dog.
Did you? And Kirk Kubo that bought him. Mm-hmm. I didn't know at the time. He called me and he said he bought a female out of Texas from somebody. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure. He told me at the time, but I've forgotten it. Anyway, he said, I need a male dog. You got anything running that's already running? I said, I do. I said, I really don't want to part with him, but I priced the dog to him, and he said, I'll take him. But it cost $250 vet certificate to get him on a plane. I forget now what the plane ticket was, which wasn't bad back then, because he was out of Frazier or Tigger One. I can't remember which he was out of. And then I didn't know this, but at that time there had never been a recorded case of rabies in the state of Hawaii.
Okay.
Even people in the armed forces, if they bring a dog or a cat, it is quarantined for 90 days when it lands there, and you have to pay for that.
Oh, wow.
So he had a couple $1,000 in his puppy or young dog. Yeah. It was running and starting to tree when he got it.
Well, I can see why he wanted something that was starting to run, because
he said there was no other leopards that he knew of, certainly not on the island where he was at, or none in Hawaii he knew of. Yeah. And he wanted to breed them. And he wanted another that was registered, and he got it. And, he sent me some pictures of the hogs. They don't have Russian boys. They have Polynesian Bullhogs is what he told me.
Mm-hmm.
But he was a wild-looking. You see a picture of him?
Yeah.
He's a wild-looking character.
Yeah.
I mean, he was true Hawaiian.
Now, I recently, I don't know, maybe within the last year, I was talking to somebody that's hawk hunts in Hawaii, and anymore he goes, because it's such a pain to import dogs, they just run all kinds of crossed up anything.
Oh, I bet.
Just because
I bet.
It's just too much of a hassle to try and get, fresh blood brought in.
Yeah.
And there's not many people that breed, I guess, any one particular breed.
Exactly. So. But he had good success with the dog and all. I've sent a couple puppies to British Columbia, Canada, and I've sent them to anywhere they had bear hunting or cat hunting, most states in the United States.
Yeah.
Probably 30 or 35 of the 50 states, plus Hawaii and the British Columbia.
Now, I've talked to people in Oregon, Idaho, and Maine within the last 6 months that all had dogs.
Oh, yeah, they've all had dogs.
At some point.
Yep, they have. I've sent them, North Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, West Virginia, you name it, Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Florida, Georgia. I could sit and name you most of the states that I've sent one.
Yeah.
It'd be hard-pressed to find a state that I didn't put at least one dog in. And most people know that I try to be honest. I tell people, and I've told you the same thing, and you and I talked about this, I think, yesterday or today when we were hunting. I tell people, you want to see what my dog's capable of and what you might be buying stock out of, come hunt. They are what they are.
Yep.
You might have seen better. Heck, I've seen better, at one time or another, depending on who's got the dog and how good of a dog it is. But I still, two things I believe about the leopard. I believe if you cross, I always bred the best of the best. Anybody sees anything, and you know this for a fact, there's 2 young 9-month-old puppies out here that's just starting. And the dog that you brought you bred, and you saw her on the bow that we killed today.
Yep.
That, she's baying at it now. If it eats my food, you can bet your bottom dollar it runs in trees on a bough. I ain't going to feed it. Because I figured out a long time ago, you can feed a good dog costs the same as it does to feed a sorry dog.
Yep, and you're not in the same boat I am.
Right.
With a 4-year-old that's very attached to your,
right.
your sorry dog.
And I told some of them down there, I was laughing about it. I told Walter Hatcher this, and he's a bound one day. I said, Walter, I said, everybody I ever met, no matter what breed of dog they had their best dog. I have one. I said, Walter, guarantee you. He said, yeah, I do. I said, now, Walter, my best dog may not be as good as your worst dog, but it's still Wayne's best dog. He said, I never heard truer words spoken. Yep. He said, that's true. Everybody has a best dog, no matter what breed. He's got that one dog and he feels like it's better than the rest of them.
Yep.
And right now, Mike would be it, because from truck to tree, he's it.
Yeah.
He's a good, solid dog.
Well, like we were just talking, you lost 3 dogs, 2 years ago?
3 dogs in about an 18-month period.
Yeah.
That man shot one. No, not 3 years ago. Two got killed by bear, and one died of that snake bite.
Yep. And
I lost with 3 top dogs. I mean, two of the fastest dogs that I had in Roscoe and Gunner. That Gunner dog is probably the fastest leopard other than Jazz. I never have understood something about dogs and speed dogs. I watched during the chase season several years ago when Jazz was in a prime. I watched them. I walked along the Blue Ridge Parkway up there, and it was baying a big bow that was probably between 400 and 500 pounds, and he just walking and fighting. When that bow broke and went away from the road, he went down the mountain. She pulled 200 yards ahead of everything that was on that bow, and they all left when I looked at them.
Jeez.
How the hell she done it, I don't know, but she had that knack. Tigger had that knack. We went up there one night, me and Tommy Parker, and rigged a bear. It was on a Monday night, and the Monday night we wanted to watch a Monday night football game. It was in October. And we went up there, and we rigged the track, turned out. The bear went down the mountain circle, come back up, tried to cross the road, and we threw rocks at him. cut her headlamps on and threw rocks at him and turned him back. And he went back and crossed the road. Tigger was out front, and when he crossed over the road, Tigger pulled up and treed that bough before the other dogs ever got to the road. Mm-hmm. He put him up a tree, and the rest of the dogs went on into the tree. He had that kind of speed. How dogs do it, I don't know.
Yeah.
But you get that one or two. If you breed or whatever, you'll come across that one or two that just has that knack to always be where the bow's at and up front. Mm-hmm. And Frazier was like that, Jazz. I've had some others. That Gunner dog is probably, aside from Jazz, the fastest dog. And he had no quit in him, and she didn't either. I've seen that Jazz dog, put 350, 400-pound bow up a tree that a pack of dogs couldn't put up a tree, but she wore him out.
Yeah.
She would wear him out, and she never got hurt. She died. The kidneys failed on her when she was 11 years old.
Yeah, I hunted with her. She was
in West Virginia.
9 or 10.
Yeah.
She started a track for us.
Yeah, she started a track. She was just a solid all-around dog, and Tigger was also. But I've had some good ones. But I still believe that the Leopard, overall, if you breed your best dog to your best dog, they give you a higher percentage of good dogs through that litters than any other breed.
Okay.
I've long since established that that's correct. I've never had Walkers, Red Bones, Plotts, or anything that even come close. You see people throw two dogs together hoping they get a good puppy. Hello, I'm here to throw two good dogs together hoping I get a well-balanced litter of puppies.
Yeah.
And I've never, in 31 years, ever kept one here that I couldn't get to run and tree. Mm-hmm. Never. I can tell anybody that, and that's the truth. And you look at that dog, you know the one that you brought down here and bred Ninja.
Yep.
And I told you, boy, I'm worried about this dog. You take her up and the dogs leave on a red-hot track, and she's looking around like, wonder where they going. The truck's right here.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, and Tim Barry from Maine, he was with me, and he saw it. Tim said, I think she's barked. She'd get excited, but she wouldn't leave with the dogs. Mm-hmm. And he said, I think she'll go, Wayne. And I said, I think she will too, but what's she going to be, 10 years old when she leaves the truck? And she got on up there, and she got about a year of age. I took up one day, and me and Tim Campbell struck a track. The dogs left, and I looked around, and I said, where's Patches? He said, I don't know. She's standing right there a few minutes ago when I looked. I looked at the gum, and I said, hell, she's 500 yards. She's in front of the dogs. She was leading the race. She just left there and blew right on by them. It just clicked in one trip to the woods, and I couldn't believe it. Mm-hmm. And she's been running and going ever since. Had no trouble with her. That and the way they handle. Mm-hmm. But anybody that wants to breed a dog and got two good leopards to breed, they will get good puppies out of it if they breed the right dogs to the right dogs.
Yeah.
But like I say, somebody will have you see all the time somebody advertising a brood jip. Mm-hmm. Excuse me, what in the hell's a brood jip? I want somebody to tell me. I don't want a brood jip. I want a jip that hunts before I breed it. And
I agree.
And it's just that's what you see. You see them all the time advertised.
Yep.
Make somebody a good brood jip. Well, now, if this is a dog that is 6, 7 years old and been one heck of a coon or bear dog, and they don't need it anymore, yes, you can say this dog would be a good dog to get some good puppies out of.
Yeah.
But to call it a brood jip, all you doing is raising crap. I hate to say it.
No, it was funny. You just went to dinner and I was talking to somebody else, and I literally, we were having the same conversation.
I mean, breed something that you at least expect to get something out of.
Yep.
But I've seen so many people just grab up, have a jip that, my God, this thing will actually run, and just breed it to anything, just to breed two blue ticks together, two red bones, two walkers.
Yep.
And, well, that Mike dog, I said, probably my best dog you saw, he accidentally bred Tim Campbell's walker dog. Mm-hmm. Last hunting season, he didn't know she was in heat, and he bred her. You saw that 9-month-old puppy at that tree today on that bough. And he's 9 months old out of Mike. Mm-hmm. Or she, rather. He kept a male and a female. It's a female. What's her name? Coco Chanel.
Yes.
His wife
named it.
Coco Chanel.
Have you ever tried any other leopards or just?
No, that's the only strain of them I used. Now, I'll tell you something. I won't call the man's name, but I was going to Maine to hunt because I hunted up there when Mike Hubbard owned the guide service.
Mm-hmm.
There was a man up there with leopards. He wasn't treeing in the bow.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked to him before I was going up on the weekend.
Yeah.
I said, what in the heck you mean you're not treeing bear? He said, these dogs ain't got no grit. They were leopards.
Mm-hmm.
I said, mine do. I said, I don't know what strain. I knew what strain, but I told him, I said, I don't know what strain you hunting, but you obviously got the wrong strain of dog if you bear hunting.
Yeah.
I go up there and I asked him, I said, stay there. But he didn't. Yeah. I wanted him to stay there and hunt a day or two.
Yeah.
And look at mine, and I wanted to look at his.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't. But I never went to Maine that we didn't tree bear. Every trip I ever went up there, even under the worst of the weather and rain, we treed bear. Never went up there. Never got shut out that we didn't tree a bear. It was one week that we didn't hunt for 2 days because it just poured rain, and we still treed a bear those 2 days we hunted.
Yeah.
But he couldn't tree bear up there.
Hmm.
Well, he said they just have no grit. But these dogs do have grit,
mm-hmm.
and all of them do. They pretty much.
Now, when Pete and your brother and your dad had leopards, do you know where they got their dogs?
From McDuffie.
They got them straight from McDuffie.
Right.
I mean, I know you said that.
Yes.
Obviously, Flicka did, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah, all of them.
Okay.
Pretty much. Well, except for that Goodman down here.
Mm-hmm.
I think Goodman lives around Goochland or Richmond, Virginia, somewhere or another. Thomas, I think his name was Thomas Goodman.
I don't know.
Anyhow, Carson got some of them, Lewis Carson, my brother, got some of them from him.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the others that he had.
Yeah. I was just talking to Richard Bailey when I was up in Michigan, and he said he hunted with your brother.
Did he?
Down at the Leopard Den.
Leopard Den, yep. Years and years ago.
Yep.
That's where Rex hunted with him.
Mm-hmm.
Probably at the same time.
Yeah.
If I knew,
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Carson not living anymore, died last year. The young age of 95. He was still getting around pretty good.
Good.
Up to the end. I mean, he walked with a cane, but he done pretty good.
Yeah.
He still went out there in the spring of the year and planted 6 dozen tomato plants, staked them, and put buckets around to keep them from frost killing them. Every spring around the 10th of April. He done it till he was 94 years old.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that a couple years ago.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, he was out here back in April planting his garden.
He planted the garden.
Just like normal.
Just like normal. When he died, this fellow over there took him, and Carson was still driving. He was going to a greenhouse to give a man 300 tomato seeds to put in that greenhouse so he could get his tomato plants and some other people around in the neighborhood could get tomato plants to set out early. He died at that man's place. He had a heart attack and died at that man's place. And that's what he was doing. He's 95 years old, and he was going to plant.
Getting ready for planting tomatoes.
6 dozen tomato plants. I mean, there's people in this county that's probably half starving to death for the food that they the vegetable stuff he used to sell them. He sold them all kind of vegetables. He didn't need the money. He just loved the people coming around, and he was used to, like my dad and like I am, we worked. These kids today don't know nothing about work, but he worked. I tell people I was born up there on that mountain, and I need to take you up there sometime and show you my old home place.
Keep telling me that, but I've yet to get the trip up there.
Yeah, and we should have done it. We could have easily done it yesterday evening when we got through hunting. Copperhead snakes come in the house. Pay no attention to no snake. I don't pay no attention to no snake. Heck, snake bite me, he'd probably die. No, seriously. Had an old wood stove.
Yeah.
Had a heater in the house. It was in the summertime, and I had a beagle that come in. The rabbit hunted a lot too as a bear hunting. I was probably 13 or 14 years old. The beagle come on in the house. I let her in, and we'd feed her in the kitchen there. And she, I was popping some popcorn on that old wood stove. You just pour it over in the pan and shake it.
Yep.
Like you used to do it. It wasn't in a bag then. And
No,
she
you
went
mean
back.
you didn't have a microwave?
Yeah, never knew what a microwave was back in the 60s, 50s and 60s. But she went behind the stove and she come back and out all bristled up, a house standing up growling. I said, heck, I know what that is. I just set the corn off the eye of the stove. Looked around, there's a copperhead snake behind the stove. I just went out there and got a hoe and just drug him on across the floor out in the yard and killed him, threw him down the hill, and come on back and pop my popcorn. That's a true story. I did it.
Just everyday life.
Yeah, everyday life. You didn't pay attention to that. Snake didn't bother you. I've been over there working in the barn, and we got up hay loose. There was no baled hay then because my daddy couldn't afford a baler.
Yeah.
And I'd be getting up hay and just pick a copperhead snake up with the hay, and he'd flop around, and I'd just throw it back down and kill him and go on. Keep feeding the cattle. I've seen it done in the fall of the year and all when the grass started getting low. Them snakes go to the barn looking for some place to go.
Yep.
But yeah, we had a life unlike most people had.
Yep.
But it's one I'd trade today for. I'd rather go back to then.
Yeah.
I don't need all of this fancy stuff. I've got a cell phone, got a computer, got a microwave, but
you got a cell phone?
Yeah, I got a cell phone. You know I do, but I just don't use it
a lot.
You
don't use that thing. You call your cell phone. You don't. It's sitting on the table or something.
Yeah. Well, I don't use it here at the house because most people call me on the landline.
You don't use it when you hunt. You take it. Otherwise, you don't carry it.
No, I had it tonight when I went out to eat tonight. Yeah, I do. I take it when I go. Seriously, I do.
Okay, you must be getting better about that.
Yeah, I am. I'm getting a little better about it. But no, we lived a life different from most people. Well, all people did my age.
Yeah.
When you're 70, 80, I'm 74 now, your life was different. Now, some of them had it a lot better, but we didn't.
Well, just being back in the mountains, a little more secluded.
Yeah. I mean, Daddy, those dogs he had, they would be treed somewhere or another about every morning. If not a bear, they'd have a coon treed.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been to them many a morning, and before I went to school, and shot a coon out of the tree. If it wasn't very far, come back and lay it in the corn house and skin it out when I come from school that evening because we sold the hides. I've sold them hides about $20 to $30 each.
Yeah.
Back in the 60s, early 60s and all, and later than that.
Yep.
Now you can't hardly give them away.
Nope.
But I'll tell you a little quick story. I had a daddy, they treat a coon one morning before I went to school. And it was right up there above the house. I went up after 22 rifle, and the coon sitting up in there, and I popped the coon out, and he fell down next to a log, and the dogs was pulling on him. And I run over there, and I picked that coon up, and he wasn't dead. I was trying to get, I didn't want that hide tore up because that hide's worth $20, $25. That's a lot of money back then. That coon bit me in the leg right here, and the dogs was pulling the coon, and the coon is attached to my calf of my leg down here. And I'm going to tell you what, I'm not joking. If you look, see that place right there? That's where that coon bit me about 50-some years ago. That's where he sunk his tooth. See it? See that spot right there? It looks different from the rest of my leg. It's right in there. He stuck, and I had to take a .22 rifle and beat the dog off of him, beat him over the nose to turn the coon loose so I could get the coon off my leg. And,
only you.
And he was pulling on the coon, and the coon's holding to my leg. Wasn't no rabies then. If it was, I suspect I probably should have got tested the coon in there. But you don't give up that $35 hide for him to test that coon. That's too much money involved.
Not back in those days.
But yeah, but those leopards, I enjoy hunting them, and I like them, and I'll hunt them, and they'll be true blood. Unless there's something put in them before I bought them. It ain't nothing else been put in them in the last 31 years since I've owned them.
Yep.
That wasn't leopard that I know of.
Yep.
And
well, like you said, you've had the same dogs with very few.
Just kept. You can look back through the ancestry of them until I can get one registered now in just about 3 or 4 generations. Every one of them come through my kennel.
Yeah.
Every one of them come through my kennel.
Have you ever sat down and figured out how many generations you've had?
Lord, no. I have not.
I just didn't know.
I don't know. I don't know how many generations. And it might be hard to do. I'll tell you what, I've got papers right here. Hold on. The last litter or two of puppies I raised. Hold on. Let's see. This one's empty. What's in this one? What litter is that?
This is Mike and Little Jazz.
That's Mike and Little Jazz. So that's the last litter.
Frazier.
Huh?
There's Frazier there.
All right, go back. All right, this is Mike and Little Jazz. This is your everything there is Lizard Ridge. Everything here is Lizard Ridge except for Little Mountain Sissy, and that's John Miles, West Virginia. Go back over here, there's Hensley Tigger, Little Jazz, Dutchman Creek Frazier, Dutchman Creek Dixie. I owned her. And down here on this side, Hensley's Frazier, Lizard Ridge JB, Lizard Ridge Freckles. I own just about every dog on that page there. So and that's what, 4 generations?
Yep.
Right there. And I own, and if you go back,
And like you said, I mean, while you've raised a lot of pups and stuff, you're not running a puppy mill here, so it's not like you've got pups around. You raise pups when you need replacements.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I told you yesterday, my daddy and Pete Ware both rode the same old horse. If they had a great dog and or 3 or 4 good dogs, they just kept hunting them. And it's like Gene Parker told me one time he was up there in Maine. He said, I just realized something. Every dog I got is either in the nursing home or kindergarten.
Yep.
I got nothing. You won't see me do that. You look out there in that kennel. 2 9-month-old puppies, 17-month-old dog.
2 years.
Ruger's 2 years old. I don't have 1 3 because
you got 3 4-year-olds.
But I got 3 4-year-old dogs, and then I got a 6-year-old, a 7-year-old, and an 8-year-old. I got about 10 dogs out there, and they go from 9 months to almost 9 years old.
And you just had one that was almost 15, wasn't it?
The old bandit dog would have been 15 this spring. He just died. He's the daddy or granddaddy of everything standing in that kennel out there.
Yeah.
He was a hell of a dog. He wasn't blessed with the speed that some of the rest of them was, but boy, he had some grit. And he could work a bow when he caught him.
He was a good-looking dog.
He's a good-looking dog. I got a picture right up there that I can show you of him when he was just half his body shaved where a bow tore him up.
Jeez.
Yeah. Of course, that'd be expensive right about now.
Yes, it would.
He died at 15. That's probably been, I think he was 6 or 7 when that happened. That's 6. It wasn't bad then. My God, there's vet bills now worse than a human. It's an expensive sport.
Yes, it is.
A very expensive sport.
Definitely.
But I'll make you a bet. I bet J.C. Childress will have a bow dog for next year. He's hooked. When he saw that bow up that tree today, that man's hooked.
He might not have a bear dog. He'll have a dog trying to make a bear dog.
He'll have a dog that he's bear hunting.
He will be trying to make some bear
dogs. And he'll have a track. Well, he said he had a dogster tracking system.
Yeah. But he already said, he's like, I need a Garmin now because that's what you guys all run.
Yeah. But, his own sons is taking wagers on how long it before he'll get a dog.
That's pretty funny. The one said 90 days, which is probably about right.
That's about right. You get past
because that's when you
get past Christmas, and he gets thinking about that thing. Man, I really enjoyed that.
No, because that's when it'll be a little bit longer than 90 days. Cause that's when Ivory will probably have them.
Yeah, that's when he'll be calling me. Yeah,
about 4 or 5 months.
Yep, about spring of the year. Yeah, hopefully she'll come in, and I'm gonna breed her to that Amos dog. And you saw enough out of that Amos dog to know he's a good dog. He's a solid dog.
Yep. So's
and he's one of the last few left out of that old Jazz dog that I had. Just a direct son.
Yep.
And I had already thought about that, and after I looked at what he was doing this year, but I think he's 5 years old now. I look at the papers, but I think that's right.
Yeah.
And but he's never even been registered. But it wouldn't have been any trouble to have registered him. He just Jared wanted to make a coon dog, and he didn't want nothing to do with a coon. He wanted to run a bow. Yep. And he runs a bow, too.
That red dog I got out there, Rio, that's his daddy. I tried to make a coon dog out of that Plott dog, and he was doing good until I took him bear hunting.
Yeah.
And then once I took him bear hunting, he was
that's a death kill of if you want a bow dog, don't coon hunt it. Because I mean, if you want a coon dog, don't bear hunt it, because I'm gonna tell you what. Once he smells that bear, I've seen some dogs that didn't like it, but most of them do. Mm-hmm. They give out so much scent and all, and it's a fast game that they can run.
Yep.
And they just love it. Most dogs love it, of any breed that I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
But I like them. I just love to hunt them and the way they handle. You can talk to them. Shoot, I'll go out there anytime if I got plenty of time when I feed, and I'll go through every kennel and pet every one of them and talk to them. Mm-hmm. People think I'm crazy, I guess, but that's okay.
But all them dogs, they respond really well to it.
They do it. Leopard Curs responds, but one man said he got a puppy out of this last litter mate to this mine. He said, believe he petted it too much. I said, no, you can't pet that dog too much. I said, it might be a little slower starting by you petting it because it wants to hang around you, but I said, no, sir, you cannot pet a Leopard Curs too much. I firmly believe that.
Yep. Well, Wayne, I thank you for sitting down and talking about your leopards.
I thank you.
You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Tree Talking Media. And until next time, keep them talking in the timber.